So for those just popping in, we will be recording this presentation just so we can share it with those who aren't able to make it. I see some folks are popping in. We'll go ahead and get started rather than keep everybody waiting, but it's wonderful to see so many people here already. I'm Kathy Cloutier. I'm the Executive Director of Dorcas International. And we welcome you here to our webinar, Refuge in Rhode Island, which will talk a little bit about general resettlement in Rhode Island and what's that like, what that is like for those who are arriving. I also have my colleague here, Max Krishuk, who is our Ukrainian response coordinator. We hired him less than a year ago, actually, in order to be able to support Ukrainians and their sponsors when they were arriving in Rhode Island. So he's with me today, and he'll be talking a little bit later in the show. I will be starting this show with a short video that explains who we are at Dorcas International. Most of you probably already know who we are, but this is a nice kind of short visual explanation, which I love watching it every time I see it. And then we'll go into a brief slide deck where I'll share some information with you. Hand it over to Max, and we may have some time at the end for some questions. So again, welcome. We're so excited to have you all here with us. And we'll just dive in and get started with the video. So great to see you.
We are Dorcas International.
Dorcas International.
Nosotros somos Dorcas International.
For 100 years. Dorcas International.
Awani Dorcas International.
We are.
Dorcas International.
Dorcas works with immigrants.
We're good at helping people figure out how to settle into a new place.
Anyone that's looking to live a better life.
We're most well known for resettling refugees, but we really do work with a lot of native Rhode Islanders who are just looking for job training, getting a high school diploma, or preparing for a better job.
When you first get to United States, it can help you improve your English, getting a GED and job placement.
Because Dorcas is like, hey, I can compare to the network of help with all services.
This person needs a job, this person needs education, this person needs housing, this person needs clothing, this person needs immigration services.
It's the combination of an integrated support system that really allows us to truly meet people where they are for what they need in this right moment.
To help people, to empower them.
Client-centered, person-centered.
This is how Dorcas works.
65% of our staff are either first generation or foreign-born themselves. They understand what's needed.
Ayudarlo con los niños que vienen usando la frontera, poniéndolo en la escuela, ayudándolo con lo legal y buscando los recursos. Es una comunidad que en verdad lo necesita porque son lo más vulnerables.
It's a very stressful and intimate process. I know how it feels to come with nothing.
Even with like saying hi is something important when you come to the United States.
I remember the day we left Guatemala, we say that, okay, it's gonna be our second chance. So we're gonna start, we have the second chance to start over. When they come here, it's to the unknown. But when they see that we're here to help them, that we're here to empower them, that we want them to do well, they feel welcome. They feel like important.
Having people feel safe and comfortable when they come in our doors.
They have someone who is there to support them, someone who is there to help them.
So we're asking clients questions about what their interests are, what their skills are, what they'd like to be able to do for work.
Yeah, it's really leading to save a life. And to some people, they're living the US dream, whatever that US dream is for them.
How to be good citizens and how to give back to this nation.
Education is power. Refugees who arrive 9 years later have given back in taxes more than what they ever took in terms of assistance. The diversity of a community just makes it a richer community. You think about the foods, you think about the cultural events, it just makes for a better America.
We're celebrating 100 years of supporting Rhode Islanders. We expect to be around for another 100 years. Our job is to be sure that we're still supporting people to be successful. And whatever that looks like will be what Dorcas International will look like in the future.
نحن معهد دوركاس الدولي.
Let's celebrate 100 years.
We are Dorcas International for 100 years.
100 years.
Muito obrigada. Murakode.
شكرا.
Gracias.
والمهد سنتين.
Tashakor.
Thank you. Dorcas International. Thank you.
So that video gives you a little bit of an idea of the wide variety of services that we offer and how the services are interconnected into wraparound supports. Again, whatever someone needs when they need it. This slide kind of gives you a list of all the services we offer for both foreign-born and Rhode Islanders who were born here. In addition, and we're really excited about some new programming that we're developing. We've got some youth programming happening in the schools to assist unaccompanied youth and refugee youth as they're integrating into our communities. And we're also got an exciting project coming up where we're working on development of refugee housing that we can't wait to tell you about, but that's a future webinar. So today we're going to be talking to you about what's happening with resettlement with regard to Ukrainians specifically. But from the next slide is talking to you about what's going on in the world. So as of last year, over 100 million people were forcibly displaced from their homes. And that has expanded even in last year with the Ukrainian war and other unresolved crises. However, the term refugee, although we use it very broadly, really only as a designation given by the United Nations. So of those 100 million people, only about 30% have been technically identified as refugees. And others coming into this country are coming legally as asylum seekers or humanitarian parolees, but they're not necessarily entitled to all of the benefits that a refugee receives, which is permanent residency automatically on the day they arrive, some financial assistance funded by the government. These others who come to the US don't have those opportunities to access those resources. And so it provides a very different experience for them. In terms of the numbers of actual refugees who came to the US, the president has determined 125,000, we want to welcome or we want to admit 125,000 refugees. However, because of the pandemic, it's taken the system a lot longer to reopen. So last year in fiscal year 2022, we only resettled just over 25,000. And this year, although we're doing better, we're only expected to resettle about 62,000 United Nations designated refugees. However, as of last month, we've already seen 271,000 Ukrainians come into the country. Now, Ukrainians come in a variety of different ways, but there's more than 13 million people, Ukrainians, who've been uprooted from their homes. 5 million have been displaced in country, so they're still in the Ukraine, but their homes have been destroyed or their cities are under siege, and they've had to relocate. And then another 8 million have been displaced across Europe, with, as I said, several 100,000 coming to the US. The way folks, the 271,000 Ukrainians that are coming to the US are coming in a variety of different ways. 117,000 have been admitted as part of Uniting for Ukraine, which is a new program that the federal government has designed in order to have private individuals or private organizations actually sponsor Ukrainian refugees through the so they submit an application saying that they're willing to financially support Ukrainians to come over here. And then, and that's what's happened for 117,000 of them are given this, what we call humanitarian parole status for a period of 2 years. Another 150,000+ have come in through, you heard last year when the war first broke out, folks were coming across the US-Mexican border. They were coming in legally with this humanitarian parole, but they were only given a 1-year temporary status, which recently has been extended to a 2nd year. So they, like the Uniting for Ukraine arrivals, have a 2-year total that they can remain here in the US. And hopefully, honestly, I don't think anybody expected the war to be going on as long as it has. And it's thanks to the Ukrainian, resilience and their ability to really fight off another country overtaking them says wonderful things about the Ukrainians, but it's also created a situation that was not expected to last quite this long. Other Ukrainians are coming in various ways, seeking asylum, or coming in as through the traditional refugee program. So in Rhode Island, however, again, we've seen arrivals in the last 18 months that we haven't seen in years, and it is because of the global crisis going on. So last year, we finished resettling about 331 Afghans. We've got another 125 children coming from primarily Central America, and 109 refugees from other countries around the world that we've been working to resettle. However, it's a very different program with the Uniting for Ukraine, and it's because folks are bypassing Dorcas International. These other refugees have come through Dorcas International as their sponsor. What's different about this is that these individuals are sponsoring Ukrainians coming over, and the only information we received initially was a list of all the sponsors who've applied and what their zip code is. So we don't know names. We don't know how many Ukrainians have arrived. We don't know when they arrive. We just know that the applications have been submitted. We get a number of applications that have been approved, but we have no other information. So when that began to happen last spring is when we reached out and said, look, we've got the knowledge and experience for resettlement. These sponsors are wonderful, or warm, open hearts. They're trying to help, but they don't have the knowledge of the resources, what's available to folks the way we do. So what we did is we opened up a walk-in center. We hired Max, who's Ukrainian American himself, and we started to do some outreach through the faith organizations, the Ukrainian churches, and other organizations that are connected to the Ukrainian community, to let folks know that we're here, we're available to help them. And so far, I think we've estimated that 240 Ukrainians have arrived in Rhode Island. We've made contact with just about 100 of them. So there's still a lot of work to do because, again, it's outreach, it's letting people know that we're here, we can help, and how we can help. And again, Max and his team are very resourceful, so we'll talk a little more about that later. But this is what we know so far. Now, in general, in the traditional refugee resettlement process, there's generally refugees flee their country. They're in a safe haven someplace. Sometimes it's a refugee camp. Sometimes it's another country where they stay temporarily until they've been given permission to come to the US. And so some of the challenges for the processing for refugees depends on some of these factors here. With the Ukrainians, again, they're not coming through the normal resettlement process, but they're still experiencing much of the same things. They're experiencing the trauma that war brings, that displacement brings. They're having to be vetted before they come into the US, just as all refugees are vetted. One important thing to know is that many of the Ukrainians coming to the US are single mothers with children or seniors, because men of fighting age, I guess, aren't allowed to leave the Ukraine. They're being required to stay so that they can help fight off the Russians. So when you think the difficulty that folks will have just in the resettlement process anyways, when you think of the Ukrainians coming to the US, they're the most vulnerable. They're these single mothers with children in a separated family, forcibly separated family, or seniors who, again, have more difficulty in terms of integrating often. So some of the, these are some of the processing factors, some of the local factors that affect folks' ability to integrate quickly and easily have to do with the availability of employment, which there are plenty of jobs. If you talk to employers, there's plenty of jobs in Rhode Island. There has been some delay in Ukrainians in terms of getting their work authorizations, which haven't been processed as quickly as their applications to come into the country have. There's diversity. We know Rhode Island is very diverse. 14% of our population are made up of immigrants and refugees, which is a significant percentage. And there's connections that folks have because they have these sponsors. So they already immediately are meeting someone when they arrive. There's someone who's, offered to support them while they're here. So some other issues that determine integration and how successful it is the likelihood of returning back home to Ukraine. We don't know at this point. I think from most perspective, and Max can speak to this, the expectation was that most folks will be returning back, depending on the state of their country at the time the war is over. But having previous ties to US citizens and having these US sponsors, many of whom are family or friends, is a wonderful support for Ukrainians to have. The other thing that's beneficial is that in the Ukraine, as the European country, the education levels and are very similar. The socio-demographic characteristics are similar to that of the US or the Western and global peoples. And so that assists many, some Ukrainians that we were working with learned English in school. They may not have used it for 20 years, but they do have a basic understanding of English. And again, where they're resettling is all over the state because they really are living with sponsors in a variety of different cities and towns here in Rhode Island, which also makes it a little more challenging in terms of getting around as it would. Often when we resettle refugees, we resettle them in Providence. So they're close to where we are until they're ready to be able to, move where they want to live. So these are some of the challenges that we run into in general, challenges that refugees experience when they're resettling in the safe havens and then coming to the US, and then more specifically coming to Rhode Island. But I am going to turn this over to Max, who is going to talk to you in a little more detail about what he's seeing every day in our walk-in center as Ukrainians and others are coming in seeking help. So Max Krischuk is, as I mentioned earlier, a Ukrainian American. He came to the US as a refugee when he was 8 and just celebrated his 21st anniversary here in the US. So let me hand this over to Max. Max, welcome. We're excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and definitely wanted to thank everyone that's here for joining us. It's truly a great honor to work for an organization that values Ukrainians first and foremost in this topic, but more so just refugees in general, where people who are coming from tough situations or from times where their lives have been completely upended are able to come and know that there is an organization within the state that they came to be able to have help, to be able to know that you can walk through the door and there will be someone that can help you out. And truly it's an honor to work for an organization like that. And when you combine the 100 years of experience that Dorcas has with the fact that there's an amazing staff here, many people who truly value others, many people who care for others, it's really an incredible time to see all that and an incredible organization to work for. So I'm very thankful to be part of an organization like this. And I definitely wanted to turn the attention to the topic that we have at hand, which is all the new Ukrainians that are coming to the state of Rhode Island, to our great little Rhodey. I know the experience firsthand of coming to a new country, a new place. My family immigrated from Ukraine as refugees 21 years ago. Exactly, we just celebrated as a family yesterday. It was March 29, 2002. When we came over, I had a broken arm. Had no idea what I was doing, but my parents were telling me this is the place you're going to. And truly, even for an 8-year-old, it's a shock. It's all confusing. It's all very confusing to see what's happening. Your whole life has changed dramatically. Language, culture, food, everything. And that was for an 8-year-old during peaceful times. When right now, for all the people that are coming, truly they're going through war, they're going through trauma that most people would never experience in their entire lives. And we have 8-year-olds who are coming who have seen more, been truly frightened more than I could have ever been, or a lot of people in their lives. So all of that's a buildup to making it even more difficult to come to a new place, come to a new place, especially when for most of them, I hear it still now, oh, you're from Rhode Island, so is that part of New York? Is that Long Island? Is that whatever? Most people wouldn't even be able to find it on a map. And here they are in a new setting, new place. And truly, it's organizations like Dorcas and its individual sponsors and people who make their lives easier. So main question for me and for our conversation is, how do we as individuals, as families, as sponsors, and as an organization and as a community make an impact in the lives of the new arriving Ukrainians? And truly not just the Ukrainians, because at the end of the day, the Ukrainians will make an impact on other refugees. They will make an impact on other people that are here and make an impact on overall society for America. So how do we make sure that they are getting everything that's available to them, all the resources, all the benefits, that they don't really just sit at home and really regret coming here, regret being here, but that they get to see Rhode Island, they get to live in Rhode Island, truly make an impact for other people, and kind of get everything that Rhode Island offers as a state here, and hopefully truly rebuild their lives here as well. So really, if we're looking at the question like that, that's where an organization like Dorcas would come in. Rhode Island truly is not known as a place that has a large Ukrainian community, but as many people have found out within the past year, and I think many of you who are listening in have seen or have witnessed yourself, truly there are a lot of Ukrainians in Rhode Island, and there's a lot of new arrivals, as we just saw. So the war has caused hardships truly for many, but in another aspect, through it all, there has been a community built up in Rhode Island, and we're here to support it. And as many of you know, even in your own daily lives, without community, without people who can truly help us out when the times get tough, life would truly be really difficult. So I just want to go over some of the things that Dorcas has done. As you can see, and truly it's really awesome, you could see it through daily lives and people, what we have done and what Dorcas has done as an organization to be able to support the Ukrainians, especially because, again, the model Uniting for Ukraine is a very different model than what most regular refugee resettlement looks like. So first and foremost, one of the things that Dorcas did was they hired me, someone who truly did not have the utmost experience dealing with a lot of the stressful situations that a lot of these people go through, and a lot of the case managers here who are really amazing at their work go through. But they were able to hire me to be able to really build out the community and really, more importantly, reach out to the Ukrainian community that is in Rhode Island. So we're trying to get connected to the people here. We're trying to get connected to the people who might have come many years ago, like our family, even generations before that. People who have some cultural connections already built up with Ukrainians. And really, I've personally heard from quite a lot of people already that they thought they came from, say, Ukraine 30 years ago. They lived here, they did everything here, and they had no idea that there was any other Ukrainians here. And we've personally been told, hey, guess what? Now that we know there's other Ukrainians, we can go to them, we can maybe sing some traditional songs, maybe eat some traditional food, maybe have fellowship together, maybe have a community event together, whatever it might be. And a lot of people have been able to, just in that regard, really have a lot more community than they would have ever before here. Rhode Island has also helped with quite a lot of benefits through all the programs that are available for all the Ukrainians that are coming, and they've tried to streamline the process as easy as possible so that Dorcas can be really the facilitator of all of that, so that people can get the benefits as simply as possible. In September of this past year, Dorcas became part of it's called the PCUS program, which is Preferred Communities for Ukraine. It is a program that was handed down by one of the immigration societies, I guess we can say, or government organizations. And through that, we were also able to have really a more comprehensive setup for how to assist the Ukrainians. We were able to go over resources more with them. We were able to have a sit-down conversation with the arrivals and the sponsors, and really whoever was helping them. It might not be the sponsor, it just might be someone in the local community, just like you, who was able to have free time to take them to Dorcas, to DHS, to the Social Security office, wherever. And we were able to now enroll them in our program so that they become clients of Dorcas for 90 days at the minimum. The program also really helped us to become the go-to location in Rhode Island with dealing with the arrivals that are coming and the sponsors for any assistance that they need. Especially and truly, we've seen this in the beginning of their time here, meaning if a Ukrainian gets approved, if the sponsor is able to provide the funds or however they can to actually come to, most people come through Boston once they arrive and really get through all the jet lag, all the stunning turn of events in their lives now that they're in Rhode Island. In a couple of days, they usually are able to come to Dorcas. We have a conversation with them. And truly, for a lot of the people, the most stunning thing is seeing me, not because how great I am, but because of the fact that I can speak Ukrainian. And for a lot of people, language truly is one of the biggest cultural impacts they can have. I've tried to be friendly, but I do play a joke on a lot of the people when they come into the office and I start speaking English to them, and they really become concerned that maybe they got to the wrong place, maybe I'm not really Ukrainian, whatever it may be. And then once you see their faces, just be like, what's going on here? And then I start speaking in crystal clear Ukrainian to them, their faces light up. So many stresses leave, not because of maybe all that I can help them out with, but really more so that they know that they're not on their own. And for any refugee that comes, especially when for Dorcas, when you have a case manager standing outside of the airport gate waiting for you with a car, with a vehicle, with fresh food, and able to just at least say, hey, we're here to support you. It's truly a remarkable thing for these people because they've gone through so much and maybe they do think they are on their own, yet here is someone standing and helping them out. So Dorcas really just overall has been able to help in a lot of specific fields for the Ukrainians. It might not look like it sometimes because there are difficulties daily. There are really a lot of struggles that they go through. And again, many of you know that each one of us in our daily lives might struggle with one thing, and maybe we fix that problem, then there's another problem, and all of these things add up for the Ukrainians, because truly they weren't expecting to come here. There are a lot of people that have come that maybe dreamed of one day coming to America, but I'm very sure that none of them were expecting to come because of a war, because of something that they didn't do, and because of something that they really have no control over. So I just want to go over some of the things that Dorcas has done really step by step for a lot of the Ukrainians, just so you realize just how much there is at Dorcas first and foremost, but really how much they are being helped. So just some of the examples that are available at Dorcas, and really, again, not just for the Ukrainians, but for refugees overall, for all the people that are coming or really have a need. Dorcas really has open doors for anyone. So the first thing, and one of the biggest impacts that I've seen specifically, has been the ESL classes here. There's truly an amazing program here for ESL. A lot of people know that there's other programs within the state, but as we're finding out right now, it's really filling up quickly for each new trimester. And that's because there's really such an intuitive and such an expansive ESL program. There's a lot of workers who are part of it, who make every step very simple, even if they don't speak your own language. And really what it does is, for a lot of the Ukrainians, when they come here, the first thing that they know that they're really struggling with is language. As different as culture, food, whatever else is, language becomes the biggest barrier to really anything, because if you don't have the language skills, you're not able to work, you're not able to have transport simply, you're not able to communicate with people within your own community. And really, Dorcas has done an amazing job with having a lot of the Ukrainians, even if they're not part of the Uniting for Ukraine program, they've been able to integrate them into the ESL classes, and they've been able to have them learn. And really, just as an example, I've heard some teachers come to me and say, we've had some older folks come, because that's one of the realities, is a lot of people who lived their whole lives, maybe say even in a village near one of Bakhmut or Donetsk, or one of those places that really has a lot of fighting going on right now. They live their whole lives there, and out of nowhere, everything's uprooted. And here they are in Rhode Island, in Providence. They have to deal with so much things that they would have never expected to. And I've been told by some of the teachers, older folks, sometimes it's tougher for them. But we have such people that they come, they barely know anything, and in even a month, they're really starting to pick up on a lot of the mannerisms of Americans, or pick up on how to say things in a phrase. And it's just joyful to hear that, because you see that the work that the teachers at Dorcas do, the work that the people that are helping those teachers do, truly is being shown to the world. Really, and they're now able to go into a pharmacy. They're now able to go into another government organization. They're able to do things on their own in ways that they really most likely would not have been able to beforehand. The other big area that Dorcas really helps out with directly to the Ukrainians is employment. A lot of people are coming that have really doctors, maybe they were lawyers, whatever else they were in Ukraine. They're coming here and realizing maybe their credits can't switch over. Maybe all these things that they thought they knew are completely different as a cultural basis or in a work place environment in the US. And then even more so, again, language comes into play. And Dorcas really, again, has an amazing employment services team that is able to provide, again, not just for the Ukrainians, for refugees, for people within the community who maybe don't have the best English language skills yet. And they're able to provide them resume building skills, workshops for job employment, job fairs, and then they're able to find them work, get them through interviews, get them through all the difficult things that maybe you and me would already struggle at, even when we know English, but they're able to guide them through this process. And we've had many people who are able to get work. And again, I've had personal experiences where maybe someone came in, didn't really know what the next step was, but they were able to go to our employment services team. And with that, they were able to see that someone actually genuinely cared for them. Someone wanted them to have a way to provide for their family, especially again, when it's a single mom. Maybe she's getting DHS benefits, maybe she's getting some kind of support in the community, but she needs to work. And when you see someone like that come in and have their lives truly change within a week, they're able to work. It's a very amazing thing to see. The other thing that Dorcas helps and really at the front lines of is school enrollment. We have an incredible staff here who deals directly with the schools, with the public school systems. And I know that a lot of us have dealt with bureaucracy in a lot of different ways with whatever organizations, and schools really are no different. A lot of the Ukrainians come, maybe they don't have all the immunizations for their kids. Maybe they don't have all the classes that have finished, maybe their diplomas translated. And we have a staff that is able to then translate the paperwork or send them to organizations that can translate. They're able to provide them with the resources available. And then even more so, they're able to connect with the public school systems, Cranston, Warwick, Providence, Woonsocket, wherever else. And they're able to then set up the time for them to come in and to set up their kids so that they get an education. And I think, as a lot of Ukrainians have found out, I'm very thankful that my parents forced me to speak Ukrainian at home. And, when you're a kid, you don't want to because everything else is English. But now here I am helping Ukrainians. But a lot of the parents also find out quickly that when their kids go to public schools or any school system, they come home and then they're learning English from their own kids. So it's like this beautiful circle that happens where the children are now able to help their parents. I remember many times having to go over lots of paperwork for my mom and not having any clue what was happening, but she's like, just tell me what it says. You don't really know what it's for, but out of nowhere, you as a child are now able to help your parents. And really, as an example of this, we have a mom who is, they fled as a family from Kherson, which is one of the sadly, one of the places that's really been destroyed by the war. And she and her husband in here, but she's been able to work with our employment. I apologize, with our school enrollment teams, and they've been able to help her figure out how to sign up her kids for school, how to have the bus come, how to have one of the children has a learning disability, how to have him be set up on an individualized learning plan. And really, it's an amazing thing when you get to see her come in and say, really, thank you. And not even just to me, but truly to the Dorcas staff and the people who have helped her out so much with figuring everything out. And the other really big field that Dorcas is able to help out with is mental health. A lot of the Ukrainians, as strong as they are, and as really, it's been incredible to see how they've withstood this war for a year and really even more so. A lot of the people that have come to the States really have built up trauma. It could be children, it could be older folks, it could be single moms, fathers, whoever. A lot of the people have built up trauma that they would have never expected to experience. If you're a single mother, you come here and you have a couple kids, but your husband has to stay behind because he is not allowed to leave. You now come to a completely new place. You can't speak to him daily. Maybe you might have some other issues at hand. And our staff of social workers has been able to sit down with these people, truly go over what their needs are, what they're experiencing in their lives, have one-on-one conversations, use interpretation when needed, and really be able to guide people who might come here without any clue where they're headed, give them goals, give them really a purpose in their lives to live for. And we've seen that. And we've seen that with people who go there, they realize, hey, I am very good at this one aspect of this kind of work. And in a couple months, they come in and say, hey, because of that conversation we were able to have, I now am working. I now have a job. I can now provide for my family here. And that's really because of the social workers here at Dorcas who are able to guide them and really show them what we can do. So that's all the things that Dorcas is able to do. Really difficulties, I don't really want to go too deep into this because I'm sure that everyone knows lots of difficulties for everyone, not just the Ukrainians. I'll just mention a couple that we've seen really daily, phone calls and things like that of that nature. Biggest issue overall truly is expectations. Because of the way that the program works, where these people are sponsored, sometimes they don't even know the sponsor. Sometimes they don't know who these people are that are coming. They are coming to. And when they do come, they have an expectation that America is like this. They are able to watch Hollywood movies just as much as we are. And a lot of people truly come off the airplane thinking it's going to be this beautiful life. There's going to be money on trees. Apparently is still a convection about America that is very popular in other countries, Ukraine included. And really, a lot of these people find out that no, you really have to work. You have to fight. You have to figure out what you need to do. But there are organizations, there's communities, organizations like Dorcas, communities within Rhode Island that are able to help. So with that, we try to, when they do come into Dorcas, we try to set their expectations, how life will be. We try to go over the resources available. We try to go over work. What is employment? How does it actually look like here? How does it differentiate cultural things, small things, big things? And really, we try to figure that out. But that is still one of the issues because of the way that the system is built. Another big need, and truly this is one of the real big ones, is housing. A lot of them try to come, and if they have any kind of issues with their sponsors, they try to find work quickly, but then they really find out that you need credit history, you need security deposits, you need all these things that maybe they didn't need in Ukraine. You could just call up a family friend and they'll figure out your living situation in a day, and that's not as simple here. And really not just for the Ukrainians, really all refugees, it's not an easy thing to be able to come here, get a job, have a car, have transportation, and be able to work. A lot of these things are very difficult, and we're seeing that with the Ukrainians as well. And then the real sad issue that we see sometimes, and this is where we try to help as an organization if it comes to this, is really, it's called a sponsorship breakdown, where maybe the Ukrainian came and they expected to have something that was given or promised by a sponsor and it's not there, or maybe the sponsor thought that the Ukrainian would come and say be able to work the next week, and or again not really set expectations on it. And when that happens, we don't want them to end up on the street. We help out in whatever money we have available for them at the moment, but there are sadly a lot of these kind of situations that occur, and we expect more to happen as the war continues, as this whole situation continues. And again, really, there's a lot more difficult places where you can go into this, but I don't really want to bore you all with just difficulties, because truly one of the other great things, it's a joy to see all these people flee, and they're able to come here and have a new life set up. So I really hope by this that you've seen kind of the impact that Dorcas International has, that we have not just on Ukrainians, but really on the refugee community in Rhode Island, and how we help. And I know that all of us see specific issues that occur and daily issues that occur in our own lives, and we see other people struggle. And really, if we sit around and don't do much, it's really hard to know that someone else might step up, or maybe there's going to be someone else, or maybe the government, whoever else. So it's truly regular people that can help with all of these things. I've been truly amazed that my parents, my family members, how much they've been helping just Ukrainians in general here and in Ukraine, how much funds they're sending and all of that. And really, it's because of regular people. And I just wanted to read a quote. I know many of you know this quote, but it was done by a German pastor. I really go back to this very often in life, when we all come to a point where, do you give? Do you have, what happens? How do I help people around me? And I'm just going to read this. I guess it's a poem more than a quote. And really, it affects all of us because it's the same as it was then, and it will be the same forever. So first they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. And truly, that's the same for all of us. If no one is able to help when it's not your own community, it's maybe you are Italian, maybe you are Chinese, whatever it is, we are all able to help out people within our own communities. And truly, it's an amazing reality to be part of an organization like Dorcas that helps out people like that. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you've learned something and really consider your part in all of this as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Max. I have to say to everybody, I did not pay him to say all this, but just know we've got 92 other staff just like Max doing this kind of work. So thank you very much, Max. I think you've enlightened a lot of people with details that people don't think about. So that's wonderful. I think we have just a few more minutes. And I know some folks had submitted some questions earlier when you registered. So we might be able to take some of those questions, especially when they were duplicated. I've got Julie as our Director of Communications here. Julie, do you have one or two questions that you can ask?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I have a few questions here if we have the time for them. The first one is, do you coordinate with other nonprofit organizations in Rhode Island to provide immigrant services?
The short answer is absolutely. The longer answer is we do have a lot of community partners that we work with, and we're always looking for more. As we always say, we can't do everything and do it well. And there's a lot of resources in Rhode Island that do the things very well that maybe we don't. And we began to really expand our community partnership with the arrival of the Afghans last year, where we had a stronger partnership with Rhode Island Food Bank, with We Share Hope for food delivery. The CAP agencies were partnering with the CCAP right now. They're giving us space at their donation exchange so we can furnish apartments and provide food and household items at an affordable price for folks. So yes, and we're always looking to develop new partnerships. Our competence is in helping others understand who our clients are, who's coming to us, and to be able to work with them with interpreting or translation or just cultural understanding. And then we allow our partners to do what they do really well. So yeah, we absolutely do.
Great. We have another question. It's a sort of a multi-part question. What types of household goods and furniture do you accept as donations or not? Who would I contact to arrange such a donation? And do we still accept clothing and household items?
That's a great question. And unfortunately, when we relocated our clothing collaborative, we had a terrible flood in the basement of one of our buildings where our clothing collaborative and Refugee Resource Center were. And so again, CCAP has provided us some space, but it's much smaller than the space we had before. So we're currently unable to accept furniture or household goods because of the limitations in storage. We are accepting clothing donations, however, and our location now is at 125 Ernest Street. Same phone number, same contact information, email and phone number. If you want to call and make an appointment to do some drop-offs, we can arrange that. And always check our website, because as we identify needs, we will be very specific about the kinds of things we're looking for. And so we don't want to say, no, we're not taking donations, but we have to be more careful than we have been in the past. So please check our website for updated information in terms of what we can accept. And we have done drives for household goods or hygiene items and those kinds of things. And so I again point you back to the website, which is listed here, I think, on this slide. So
How about one last question?
Okay.
Before we run out of time. What are your volunteer needs and how can volunteers be most helpful?
That's also a great question. I imagine there's some volunteers here as well. So we have, and again, in the last year, we had such an outpouring of support. And we had hundreds of volunteers offer their time, and we didn't necessarily have the capacity to be able to help folks. We now have finally, with Emily Crandall, have a new volunteer services coordinator. And she is being very creative in creating meaningful opportunities for more volunteers, more opportunities than we've had in the past, but also opportunities that allow you to directly support newcomers and folks who are arriving without it being a heavy lift, as some of our mentorship commitments have been. At the same time, we do have, we're still looking for volunteers to help us in our clothing collaborative in terms of distributing clothes and items, as well as in our English, our ESL classes. We're always looking for teacher assistants to work in the classroom, either virtually or in person. And there's a wealth of tutor opportunities as well, if you're interested in working one-on-one. Again, I'll direct you to our website, and we will put out positions, volunteer positions, as they're opening up. But as I said, Emily is working very diligently on creating some opportunities to provide more opportunities for people who do want to help. As Max put out the call, now we've got to put up the ability of folks to help. So, yeah. Anything else, or is okay? Oh, like this is thank you. We're almost out of time. What I want folks to understand is, as you've probably seen in your email, 401 Gives this year is not a 24-hour day of giving. It's a whole weekend of giving this year. And we're really excited about that. Last year, we were amazingly successful in raising funds for Ukrainians in Ukraine, overseas, providing financial support for the Ukrainian American Foundation, I think it was, who were sending over medical supplies over to Ukraine. And so we were very successful in raising funds. This year, again, we didn't expect to still be here, and we're awfully glad we are. We're really proud of the Ukrainians in resisting. But this year, what we're doing is raising funds for Ukrainians here in Rhode Island. As Max kind of explained, there's some situations, there's no real federal financial assistance at any great level as there are with refugees or even with the Afghans. And so any financial support, most of the financial support we can offer to Ukrainians and their sponsors comes through private fundraising. And so this year, our 401 Gives campaign is dedicated to supporting the 240 Ukrainians and their sponsors that we find here in Rhode Island. So please consider, I can't say it as well as Max did. I'm going to put him on my campaign trail all the time. So please consider participating in our 401 Gives campaign. Thank you very much. If you have questions that weren't answered today, because we're just about out of time here. If you go to our website or email info@deary.org, that's DIIRI.org, info@deary.org, submit your questions. We'll compile written answers to all the questions that have come in, and we'll share them with each of you via email if that makes sense for you. So we want to be sure that your questions are answered, but we're so grateful that you came today, and thank you so much for participating and for supporting Dorcas International and the Ukrainians that are here.